So we did a show about the 19 domains of a successful marriage, and I'm going to tell you again what they are. And actually, you'll tell me how many marriages do you think are based on this? Pretty close to zero, unfortunately. Number one, sex. Because in a monogamous marriage, if that's what you're looking for, the sex has to be mind-blowing, fabulous, mutual, and forever. Two, monogamy. Because if you talk to people, 99% of all the people you talk to want a monogamous marriage. Three, morality. You have to agree on what's right and what's wrong. You really do. Four, love. This deep, abiding, pair bonding, not pain bonding love. Health. I have two close friends who don't believe in supplements, and they both have major health issues. I take lots and lots of supplements. I'm in perfect health. I don't take any meds. Just saying. Money. You've got to have an understanding and agree about it. You can't have one person who's closed-fisted about money and the other one who lets it just run through his hands and not have fights about it. So you have to have an understanding, even if you're not the same, you have to have an understanding and an appreciation of what the other one can do for you. Investments. You have to both be read into investments. It's not good over the long run if one of you knows all about the investments, because one of you is going to die first. Unless, God forbid, you're in some sort of a crash, one of you is going to die first. And you better make sure that the person who didn't die knows as much as is needed. You know? Appearance. How many people marry a beautiful woman or a beautiful guy only to be horrified and shocked 20 years later? Because they didn't have the same standards of appearance. They didn't have the same standards of caring enough about you to stay beautiful, to stay handsome, to stay athletic, to stay all the things that are going back to sex, monogamy, and love. Home. You have to appreciate that. My mother was a famous interior designer. My father had fabulous taste. My father was her number one fan. Number one fan. Careers. Do you agree that you're both going to have a big career? Do you agree that only one of you is going to have any career? What's your understanding? Fun. This is something I'm only learning to do now. I never understood fun in my whole life until, I met my friend Marilyn, who's the fun police. Fun, okay. Family. So many people are burdened with their spouse's family. So many people are enthralled by their partner's family. You've got to be clear, which one is it? Meals, who's making them, who's cleaning up, who's shopping for them, whose favorite foods are going to be served, who's compromising on diets and all this stuff. Then children, because that's down on the list, not because of priority, but so many of you listening to this aren't going to be raising children or already did. So children, you've got to think of a lot besides genetics. Is this partner going to be a great parent? What evidence do you have? A lot of people get married to have children and then they're shocked and horrified that this co-partner who came from a hideous biological family, himself or herself, is not the parent that they were looking for their kids. Child raising, same issues. Lifestyle and hobbies. I have seen lifestyle and hobbies turn marriages upside down, because if you love to play golf and I'm happy to have time alone, it's perfect. If you love to play golf and my idea of marriage is we're glued to each other all day Saturday and all day Sunday, then we're not going to make it. We're going to get a divorce. Religion and spirituality. As I said, I had trouble with the spirituality aspect with all but one boyfriend. He became my fiance. We had other problems, which is why I didn't marry him. But he was willing to go to see Guru Mai with me. Both of my husbands were completely into my spirituality. That's why they became my husbands. But there were a lot of other issues. Chores. Well, that's complicated, but you know what I mean. If you're the one who's doing most of them, you resent your partner. If you're the one who isn't doing any of them, you're feeling, very, very privileged, and you're gloating, and you're hoping she doesn't notice. And I mean, you're hoping she doesn't notice. And then finally, retirement. This is another problem. As soon as the children leave, as soon as they're not coming back from college, as soon as they have their own lives, even before your grandparents, you may find that you've got a real problem, because this person you were married to used to be fun, used to be beautiful, used to be handsome, used to be exciting. Now it's just an old person, and you don't know how it happened. And you want a completely different kind of retirement. You should see some of the things that some of these guys on dating sites want to do. I mean, these are guys in their 70s, and they're, river rafting, and when they're not doing that, they're downhill skiing, and then they're sailing, and then they're stand-up paddling, and they're, oh my God. And then they want me to do that with them. Not happening. You enjoy it. You have a wonderful time. No. So those are the 19 domains. And honestly, if 1% of all the married couples agree on all these 19 domains, that is a miracle. But most people are living lives of quiet desperation. And it is because they decided they have to have a partner, and their partner has to be able to provide all of this. The truth is, your partner has to be your fabulous sex partner, and monogamous, and love you like crazy, and share morality with you. And those are the top 4. Then they've got to keep their health and their money, and all the other things one of you can do rather than both. So think about the top 6. Those are pretty much non-negotiable for most of you, even though a lot of people don't have the courage to say it.
Absolutely. Thank you for telling it the way it is,
Yeah.
Susan.
Yep, straight shooter. Right between the eyes.
Oh my. She's a good aim. Now, what happens if there is a lack of agreement, even over one of these?
Well, you may be married for 5 years, but it feels like 15. You may be married for 10, but it feels like 30. You may be married for 20, and it feels like 60. It's all about how much joy and how much peace you can bring to the marriage, and also what your expectation is. My expectation is that fine is not fine. That's just me. I needed to have a deeply intimate, joyous, lifelong love story. That's what I was built for. That's what I wanted. And I didn't have it in my first marriage. I married the wrong guy. I didn't have it in my second marriage. I married the wrong guy. And I didn't say yes to 14 other men who I knew would be the wrong guy. So I'm still now at this point in my life saying, you know what? I think there is somebody out there, and I think that I now understand where I was mistaken. I really see what I didn't factor in. I now see what the indications are very, very early on. I started dating again, and 2 men so far, actually 3 men, really were quite crazy about me, really wanted, to see if I could be that crazy about them, and I couldn't be. So there's a whole world out there. We'll see.
Oh my.
Stay tuned.
More to come for sure. I know, Susan, that you had a friend who said that marriage was like a virus. Explain to us what that means.
Ed Kennedy, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant guy. Just a brilliant guy. Not Edward Kennedy of the presidential family. But Ed Kennedy was a great, great guy. And he was a gold trader and amazingly successful. And we dated one summer. And I wasn't in love with him, and he wasn't in love with me. Fine, we had a great time. And he said to me one night, he said, marriage is like a virus. Every 5 years, it seems, I think to myself, I want to get married. And I said, and you've never been married? He said, no, because the last time it happened, I just didn't know anyone I wanted to marry. And when I was in college, I didn't know anyone. Okay. And I didn't think anything more about it, usually because I didn't want to marry Ed Kennedy. I wasn't I wasn't madly, crazily in love with him or even close. I respected him. I had a good time with him. He was fine. We stopped dating at the end of the summer. Not any part of my heart is broken. It's like, okay. So a year goes by, and I hear from him, and he says, I want to take you out. I want to take you to our favorite restaurant. And as I said to you, what favorite restaurant? Who had a favorite restaurant with Ed Kennedy? Not me. And I said, okay, and we made a date, and I get downstairs, and he's hired a stretch limo, which you can always make me smile with a stretch limo. What's not to like about that? Takes me to some restaurant. We're sitting at the bar, and basically before he says, I'd like to marry you, I know he's going to say, I want to marry you. It's very obvious. Guys, they get that look. I keep telling all of you, they get that look. And I said to him, no, Ed, that's not going to happen. But isn't there some nice Spanish woman that you're dating? And he said, but I don't think you understand what I'm saying to you. Yeah, I do understand. But isn't there some nice Spanish lady that, you've been dating and you've been having a really good time with? Because no, we're not a couple. We're not getting married, Ed. And it was so clear that what had happened to him is he'd suddenly caught the virus that he talked about. He woke up one morning, he was dating some woman, and he took a look at her and remembered me, and I guess I stacked up better on the, in the chart, and he called me for a date. And he did ultimately, and many of the men who I didn't want to marry, married the other person they were dating, or the person they used to be dating, or the person that, and I'd say, well, what about that one? What about that one from Toronto? What about that one from, and then they married him. Good.
She's good at redirecting. Redirecting.
That's right.
Oh my God, that was an intriguing story, Susan.
No pain bonding for me with you, thank you. But I think that other lady would really consider it pair bonding, not pain bonding. It has to be the right guy.
There you go.
It has to be the right guy. Otherwise, and the right woman. Otherwise, it's excruciating.
Yeah. Do yourself and the other a favor. Just say no.
No.
Well, thank you, Susan, for really helping us to walk through the beauty and the challenges of spring fever. And to those of you who are looking for answers and don't want to use the dangerous option of trial and error, please do accept Susan's generous offer of that one complimentary telephone session.